This morning's farm report is sponsored by LS Tractor. Start blue, stay blue.
This year, make LS Tractor your all-season workhorse. From spring applications using LS tillers, box blades, rotary cutters, and grapples, to winter applications utilizing LS snow blowers, blades, and brooms. With this lineup, there's no job you can't do with LS tractors and implements. Learn more at lstractorusa.com or check out your local LS dealer.
Well, good morning, folks. Happy Thanksgiving greetings. I'd like to get started this morning with a tribute to a young lady who is a graduate from the Ag Institute at NC State, and her name is Amanda Haddon. She's a 2023 graduate of the Agricultural Institute at NC State, and this is an overview of her educational journey. I was a very non-traditional student at the Ag Institute. I actually graduated from the University of Georgia in 2013. So I did this backwards, and that's where the story is all about. After earning a bachelor's in international affairs, my goal was to work for UNICEF to help starving children. I spent time in the Dominican Republic at an orphanage where the children don't have shoes and other things that we take for granted, which was a big eye-opener. But I felt that even though there's extreme poverty over there, we have just as much here in the States, and I should help in my home country. How do you combat poverty? I thought it started with education. After going through alternative certification, I taught at high poverty schools in two different settings, urban and then rural. I got to see firsthand what an effect poverty has. A child could be misbehaving because they didn't get enough dinner the night before. For some students, the only guaranteed food they have is the breakfast, lunch, and snack provided at school, and that broke my heart. I made my classroom a safe place, built relationships with parents, and felt I was able to make an impact. But my mom would visit, and she could tell that I literally was just coming home, taking a shower, eating, getting up, and doing it all over. As much as I loved it, that wasn't sustainable. In my childhood, I showed horses, and my happy place was at the barn with the animals, but I had totally forgotten about my family's roots. My great-grandfather was a farmer. He raised hogs and grew tobacco. We still own the land in Franklin County, which has been passed down in my family since the 1890s. My dad's plan was to retire on the land, but that changed. I approached my dad and said, "I want to restore the land," and he said, "Okay, I support you, but you don't know what you're doing." I learned that the Ag Institute and learned all about the Ag Institute and said I can know what I'm doing. It's a degree from NC State. It's reputable. What really drew me to it were the hands-on opportunities, because at every job that I'd had, I was inside all day. At the Ag Institute, I could put my life on pause for 2 years and then have a career I enjoy. Going back to school, I was the one footing the bill. For the first year and a half, I worked 12-hour shifts on Saturdays and Sundays as a nursing home receptionist. When my heart was heavy, I'd go out to the land of my grandparents or my great-grandparents' gravesite. I just asked them to guide me and protect me because it's hard. I was never treated any differently at NC State. But walking into a meeting, and being the only black person, that's intimidating. It made me second guess myself. Initially, I felt alone, but the more I got involved and the more I asked for help, I realized that I'm not alone. This is a community that wants to see the students excel. My advisor, Dr. Lynn Worley Davis, has been truly instrumental. She brought in people from the poultry industry who talked about all the career opportunities. This whole world this whole world that I never knew about. I found that I loved working with the chickens. That led to internships, joining the Poultry Science Club and the Young Farmers and Ranchers Program through Farm Bureau, and taking on an Ag Institute ambassador role. As the president of Delta Alpha Honor Society, I've been able to bring in Ag Institute graduates to tell us what they did with their degrees. I started working at the Chicken Education Unit at the Lake Wheeler Road Field Lab to learn more about birds and get hands-on experience. I did an internship last spring with Braswell Family Farms, and that was fantastic because I had no agricultural experience. The fact that they gave me a chance, I'll be forever grateful for that. I also interviewed with Mount Hare Farms to see all the aspects of the poultry industry. This led to a job as a flock advisor with Purdue Farms. It's funny how this works, or how life works. When I went to Georgia, I wanted to combat hunger and help starving children. Years later, I'm going into an industry that is helping feed the world. For full circle in moment. A different approach, but the same goal. I've met this young lady, and she's certainly a wonderful, gracious person, and she's doing a good job, and she's a great ambassador for the Ag Institute, for NC State, and for the now in her role of work, the poultry industry. And she is Amanda Haddon, 2023 graduate of the Ag Institute, and we appreciate her ever so much. Often in farming today, and this has been the case always, there are many that sometimes there are family members who work together, and it's like a family partnership. And oftentimes that can be a little bit challenging. It's not intended that way, but you have several individuals with different ideas and different thoughts on how things should be done, and it can lead to, I hate to say it, hard feelings. But then one way to undo the hard feelings is forgiveness. And here's an article that deals with it in reference to the farm. Living and working in close proximity with family members creates challenging situations. Miscommunication, misunderstanding, and conflict between business partners are commonplace. At some point in the family business, you will hurt and be hurt by those you love. Forgiveness, then, is a different but necessary element of being in business together. In 2022, Pastor Tim Keller wrote his final book, Forgive, Why Should I and How Can I? He uses the biblical parable of the unforgiven servant to suggest that the human capacity to forgive is dependent on God's forgiveness. Along the way, he offers a view of how forgiveness is seen in society today and gives compelling arguments for why forgiveness is important to all of us. Keller highlights these models of forgiveness in today's society. The first is non-conditional forgiveness, where the entire focus is on the offended party recovering from anger and pain. Confronting the person who caused the pain may or may not happen. The point is for the victim to get over, forget his or her hurt. The second is a transactional forgiveness model, where the focus is on making the person who caused the pain earn forgiveness. If he or she shows enough remorse or makes the right apologies, forgiveness by the victim is merited. The third is no forgiveness, which focuses only on justice. The only recourse is to make the offended party pay for what they did. The problem is that the first model doesn't hold the perpetrator accountable, and the latter two models are based not on forgiveness but on elements of revenge. Keller argues all three models are supported by a modern therapeutic culture where society's focus is on the individual and the pursuit of personal goals. We miss the biblical emphasis on community and forgiveness as elements of the Christian faith. Moreover, the secular models don't satisfy the hunger we have as humans to be in relationships and to be reconciled with others. Knowing society's model doesn't satisfy, how should we approach forgiveness in our relationships? First, the forgiver must realize the high cost of forgiveness. Knowing someone hurt you, you make a decision to accept whatever reparation that person will make, even if none, and let go of the issue that caused the pain. In a word, you are absorbing the cost of letting go. Keller suggests forgiveness is a practice before it is a feeling. We should think about the ways we could make the other person pay for the offense, and in refraining them to do so, realize that we are practicing the act of forgiveness. Then we promise not to keep bringing the matter up to the person, to others, or even ourselves. Forgiveness also involves going privately, and perhaps more than once, to the other person in as courteous a manner as possible, and confronting the wrong behavior. Two caveats apply here. First, be open to the idea that you may also have wronged the other person. Second, focus on the other person's behavior, what he or she did versus character, who that person is. A final step, if necessary, is to involve another person or two to facilitate healing. Can a third party help the perpetrator understand or heal more effectively, or hold you both accountable for creating a different relationship going forward? Forgiveness takes substantial internal and external work. It will challenge you beyond any management, ownership, or operational issue you face. It is costly from an emotional and relational standpoint, but a reconciled relationship, particularly with a family member, positively affects both current and future generations. That's a kind of a psychological analysis of a common feeling that everyone is faced with at one time or another. And that was an overview on forgiveness. I want to extend Thanksgiving greetings to you, and the farmers have had a good year with their crops and their yields, and we are very grateful for what our farmers do for society. I have said this before, and I reiterate it. Our population is less than 2% of farmers in all, 2% of the whole population in the U.S., and yet they feed us and they feed the world. I'd like to conclude with this poem titled "We're Drinking from a Saucer," from an agricultural perspective. Safe in the palm of the good Lord's hand, we've been blessed once more with the fruit of the land. A good harvest was reaped from the seeds the farmer sowed. Now we're drinking from a saucer because our cup is overflowed. The farmers and the land and the seasons worked together. The seeds were planted and cared for and complemented by the weather. Then the good Lord smiled on the farmer's sweat and toil, and good crops grew from the fertile soil. Now as the seasons come and go, we're drinking from a saucer because our cup has overflowed. The crops this year were ever so good, and the farmers hustled night and day to harvest them as they should. Corn for the livestock and hay sweet as honey, golden leaves of tobacco that brought a lot of money, bales of cotton for our shirts and socks, coming out of the gins around the clock, peanuts in abundance, load after load. We're drinking from a saucer because our cup is overflowed. In summary, there's only one thing left to say, and that is, dear God, thank you day after day. For here in America, we simply can't lose. We can worship as we please and vote as we choose. For granted we take the good life that's ours, like the times with our loved ones as we smell the flowers. Food on our tables in our warm abodes. Thank you, Lord, thank you. We're drinking from a saucer because our cup is overflowed. That's all the time I have today. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, both with yourselves and your families and friends. I look forward to being with you next week. Thank you for letting me thank you for tuning in, and thank you for allowing me to share with you. Have a good day and God bless.